What does the world want to know about becoming America's First Lady?
Melania Trump isn't exactly known for loving her job.
Who gives a about Christmas stuff?
But after years of on-site experience, she's finally learned to at least pretend that she wants to be there. And apparently, that's enough to win an award from Fox News.
So the Melania I first met versus the Melania there is today is a very different person.
Melania Trump has a voice, and she hasn't used it. She's had a platform, she hasn't used it. As the First Lady of the United States of America, whether you're president or not, you have the ability to speak loudly, clearly, and for the rest of Americans. She can say all she wants about the vulnerabilities of children and how much she wants to help them, but so far, unfortunately, nothing has happened. So she is not just complicit, she is his enabler, and she's his biggest cheerleader, and unfortunately, she's done nothing but that.
I applaud American dreamers and innovators who embrace originality.
I know that Mrs. I copy my fits from cartoons isn't talking about originality. I guess every Trump has more ego than brains, because we're talking about a person who literally plagiarized her predecessor.
The values that you work hard for what you want in life.
That your word is your bond.
That your word is your bond.
That you do what you say you're going to do.
And you do what you say and keep your promise.
When Trump said "Make America Great Again," who knew he meant mail-order brides? She spends like half of her speech bragging about her upcoming Amazon movie, which is just another example of the insane levels of corruption that we are just now seeing right out in the open.
Every day we celebrate our cultural disruptors, from music to art, and my new favorite frontier, the silver screen. I produced a new film with Amazon MGM named Melania. What does the world want to know about becoming America's First Lady? Creatively, my film provides a snapshot into a defining moment in history. Every breakthrough starts with one person daring to imagine what's never been done.
She's talking about her stupid movie like she just invented the idea of a documentary. But because this had to do with Melania and not Donald, it kind of just got swept under the rug. But Melania, ever the entrepreneur, apparently is the one who came up with this idea to do a documentary about herself, of course, and approached Jeff Bezos directly with the idea when he was at Mar-a-Lago. And Melania regaled Bezos and his fiancée, Lauren Sanchez, with the project's details at dinner. Just over 2 weeks later, Amazon, a company that prides itself on frugality and sharp negotiating, agreed to pay $40 million to license the film, the most Amazon had ever spent on a documentary.
She's been in the news a couple times this week for some pretty nasty stuff, both of them involving lawsuits, but she's only named as the defendant in one of those lawsuits. The first lawsuit, of course, the one in which she is named, has been filed by author Michael Wolff, who, of course, is Donald Trump's least favorite author, a guy he attacks all the time, and recently, Melania Trump had her lawyer, Alejandro Brito, who's also serving as one of Trump's lawyers, threatened to sue Michael Wolff because of things he suggested about Melania's history with Jeffrey Epstein.
For weeks, President Trump has been scrambling to deflect, deny, and distract from the bombshell revelations tying him to the late convicted abuser Jeffrey Epstein, but now questions are swirling around the First Lady herself. According to author Michael Wolff, who has written extensively on the Trump family, Melania was very involved in the Epstein saga, not just as a bystander, but as someone woven into the same social web that brought Trump and Epstein together.
Donald got arm candy. The Vogue cover legitimized Melania, which legitimized Donald as well. And Melania got 2 dynamic decades. I mean, she was a young model striving. She didn't have the success yet. She met Donald. She became an American citizen. And 10 years after that, she's the First Lady of the United States.
So you paint a picture of a woman who knows exactly what her husband is doing all the time, actually. And she's just as manipulative.
Wolf says Melania was introduced to Trump by Paolo Zampoli, a model agent with ties to both men, and disturbingly, Epstein himself claimed the couple's first intimate encounter happened on his private jet. That raises a grim question. How deep does this really go? Trump has called the Epstein files a witch hunt and tried to shift blame, but the mounting evidence, including personal letters, photographs, and now potential ties involving the First Lady, paint a very different picture. Here's the clip.
You really notice by her absence is that of Melania, that often men caught up in situations like this have a wife who's loyally standing by their side.
Well,
Melania is nowhere to be seen. Ivanka is nowhere to be seen. This must be a horrifying story for them.
okay, well, two points. She never is by his side. You know, all of those courtroom appearances, did she show up once? You know, I report in my book that one of the aides approached her and she said, "Nice try," and then laughed. But, and this is probably for further food, you know, she was very involved in this Epstein relationship. I mean, there is this model thing, but, you know, and Epstein talks about, you know, and she's introduced by a model agent, both of whom Trump and Epstein are involved with. She's introduced to Trump that way. Epstein knows her well. Epstein says the first time Donald Trump and Melania have sex is on his airplane. So this is another complicated dimension in this. Where does she fit into the Epstein story? Where does she fit into this whole culture of models of indeterminate age?
This poll shows 80% of registered voters have been following the Epstein case. Of the people who've been following the case, only 13% believe the Trump administration has been open and transparent. The Epstein scandal will not be going away anytime soon.
And we're going to stop it. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Go home to your mom, darling. Go home.
Melania, and I always say this, everything she does is intentional. And every appearance she makes is something that, again, she lets her clothing speak for herself. You know, she does not plan on putting herself in a position where she's going to be the object of conversation unnecessarily. I think Melania and Donald, and I've said it all along, you know, it is the Mark Burnett rollout production show. Their marriage was one made for both of them that put them both on the map, and strategically it made them both you know, acceptable to millions of Americans' homes that they were entering into with The Apprentice. So we have to roll back to really understand their relationship as to what legitimized their relationship, making her the supermodel and making him the businessman. And now here we have a woman, a mother, a wife, who has not been by her husband's side whatsoever. And I would say several years ago, she would have been there more. Now, after the conviction that Donald has just faced with the hush money criminal felony case in New York City, she's going to be around less and less. He will continue to move forward. His base doesn't need her there, nor do they really, you know, would it really change the dial in whether or not they would consider him as their be-all, end-all, because they will. But as far as Melania is concerned, she's going to keep her head low. She's going to only do what she wants to do. But she and Donald, I do not believe, are ever, ever going to part ways. But neither, to me, are any more, you know, beautiful. They really are as scary as it gets.
My best estimate is that Melania is not going anywhere. She is as complicit in everything that's taking place as he is.